My dudes, welcome back to Yoga for Dudes. Thank you for swinging by and sticking with this channel and going along for this ride with me where we get to know each other and we get to practice yoga together, and I get to share a little bit of my wisdom with you through my practice of yoga and what I've learned as a student and a teacher. And I hope that you find some benefits in yoga and in your own practice. So today we are going to look at our easy seated position, also known as Sukhasana in Sanskrit, an easy cross-legged seated position. Now, why we're going to look at this is a couple of reasons. A lot of guys, when they come to yoga, are super tight. They're tight in their hip flexors, they're tight in their hips, their hamstrings, their low back, all over the place. I am no exception to that rule. Just because I've been practicing yoga for a long time does not mean that I don't have some tightness. As I've mentioned before, I'm a filmmaker, a podcaster. I've spent a lot of time editing videos and films and just sitting a lot. And by nature of doing that, my shoulders have gotten tight, my hips have gotten tight, but I have found that yoga is a big benefit to helping open up those areas for me. So, one of the first things that I do when I have a new yoga student, whether it's a male or female or whatever, anybody who comes to yoga class, I like to see them sit in this position. Now, this position is a little different than what's called the lotus position, and that's where you bring a foot up and you bring another foot up. I'm not at lotus yet. I can't do that, and I'm okay admitting that. But I can do the easy seated cross-legged position, or Sukhasana, okay? So one of the first things I do is have a student sit down and just cross their legs and sit for me. Now, it tells me several things, and I'm going to use myself and my body to show you what I find and what normally happens. So I've been sitting like this for a few minutes. What we're going for, ultimately, is to be able to sit up nice and tall, maintain that length in your spine, that lift in the spine, right, for a while, because this is the ultimate yoga position. This is where you end up usually at the end of class. A lot of times you start class in this position and then move through your sequence, and then you end up here, because this is the ultimate position where we find ourselves to meditate, which is the ultimate goal ultimately. That's pretty good. To meditate, right? We use yoga to open up the body, move the energy around so that we can then sit quietly and meditate, relax the mind, and commune with, who's ever up there or what's ever up there, connecting with what's in here, all right? So this is the position we end up in. If this doesn't feel comfortable, you can't possibly sit here for 20, 30 minutes and meditate. You couldn't sit here for 5 or 10 minutes to meditate if this isn't comfortable, all right? So, as I've sat here, and I know this happens with my body, I start to collapse down like this. I rest on my forearms and elbows on my knees. Now, I could hang out here for a while, but I can't meditate like this. I can't breathe deeply like this because I'm crushing my diaphragm. My little belly doesn't help that, but I'm crushing my diaphragm, so I can't breathe in here. I'm not lifted up through the spine and through the crown of my head. My hamstrings feel kind of tight, and my quads feel a little bit tight, and my inner thighs feel a little tight like this, all right? So this is not quite where we want to be. So depending on where you are at, and I've had many guys in classes who come and sit down, and this is where their hips are. Their hips are so tight, their inner thighs are so tight, they sit like this. And they're not comfortable at all until we make some adjustments and we use some of our props. So let's take a look and see what happens. I've got a yoga blanket, all right? If you haven't checked out the props video that I did, minus the yoga strap, then I suggest you circle back and check it out. All right, here's a yoga blanket. I take it, I fold it up so that it's in a shape much like this. And I sit right up on top. Now, I've noticed, I hope you've noticed, that my hips have come up higher. They're almost in line with my knees, right? You want your hips and knees to be parallel with each other. If not, have your hips higher than your knees. This is how I usually sit. When I teach my classes, I'm up on a blanket. When I practice myself, I use a blanket. Again, I'm tight from a lot of driving and sitting. So I use the blanket to help me. So you'll notice that just by sitting here up on a blanket, it's already made my spine straighter. I have that nice lift in the spine, through the chest, through the crown of my head. All right? I could stay here for a bit. I could stay here for a long bit if needed. And I could breathe quietly, close my eyes, and meditate from this posture. Now, if that's not enough, if you're sitting on one blanket and your knees are still up like this and you're rounded over like this, try 2 blankets. Or, let's see what happens when we sit up on a bolster. Oh, that's nice. That is nice. I could sit here for a while. Now, you can also use a meditation cushion, which is more of a rounded cushion, just out of this same material. If you didn't have a bolster and let's say you had a cushion, you could pile up 3 or 4 blankets or towels if you're in a hotel room, or sit on a few pillows that are not the soft squishy pillows, but maybe some couch pillows, right? If you didn't have anything else. From right here, I feel pretty good. And I'm going to guess that you will too if you try lifting your hips up at least parallel with your knees, if not higher than your knees. And here's what I suggest. In the evening, when you're hanging out and you want to watch television, no problem. Instead of sitting on the couch or laying back in bed or on the couch, do this. Sit up on something, sit cross-legged, try to keep your back. If you need to rest your back on something, do it. But see if you can not use the back of the couch. And just sit like this several nights. Okay? I've seen many a guy come to my class. They start out up on a bolster. Hell, I've had guys start on a bolster with 2 blankets. Okay? After a while, your hip flexors and your inner thighs and your quads will start to open up. The more you do this, they will start to open up, and the more you practice yoga, they'll start to open up. And the more mindful you are about where you are tight in your body, you will begin to find ways to lengthen those muscles and give yourself some relief. So, after you do this for a while, if you feel like, okay, well, I got this worked out, I'm ready to come down, move the bolster, sit on a blanket and see what that does. I'm telling you, I have seen this work for people, but this is much more comfortable because ultimately in Sukhasana, or our easy cross-legged seated position, as we say now, crisscross applesauce, your palms are on your thighs or your palms are facing the ceiling. You can touch your index finger and thumb here, whatever you want to do that feels good for you, okay? But ultimately, you're going to be sitting up nice and tall. You're not rigid. We're not sitting at attention, all right? But we are lifting up consciously through the spine, up through the crown of the head. Just imagine you've got like a little thread attached to the crown of your head up here, gently pulling you up, all right? So your heart center is lifted. We don't want to be down here. We want to be lifted. As we're lifting up, we're also rooting down into our sit bones, either into the bolster, the blanket, or the mat, or the floor, okay? Your shoulders are also falling away from your ears. So there's this separation. If this is my shoulder, right, and here's my head, I'm going like this. Just gently. You're just softening the shoulders, floating them away from the ears as the crown of the head floats up, lifting you up a little taller. And you want to rest your tongue on the roof of your mouth and breathe softly through your nose. Now, we will get into some breath work way down the line. But first, I just want you to practice 2 minutes, 1 minute a day, sitting in an easy cross-legged seated position. All right? It won't kill you, I promise you. Who cares if you have thoughts going on and you can't slow it down and you're thinking, I'm supposed to be meditating, I can't stop my head. You can't stop your head. All you can do is slow it down. All right? So just start there. Just start sitting. There's a great Buddhist saying that is basically something like, the practice is the sitting, right? Which means just sitting is the practice that you should be doing. You're not going to be able to slow down all those thoughts in your head, so don't even worry about it for now. Just get used to sitting every day for a minute or two or longer, whatever you can handle, and do your thing, all right? And slowly your hips will begin to relax and you can lower down and feel a bit more comfortable in this seated position. Now, one last couple of things about this. So as you sit here, either close your eyes down and sit quietly if that's something you are comfortable with. If you are not comfortable with closing your eyes down for whatever reason, and that's okay, just sit quietly, tuck your chin slightly, and you can gaze off the tip of your nose and soften your eyelids a little bit. The point is to get yourself into a relaxed state so that you can get your body to slow down and then begin to get your mind to slow down a bit. And your mind will naturally slow down. I sometimes refer to this pose as one of the hardest poses in yoga because it is hard for people to stop moving, to stop doing something, to stop engaging or talking or thinking or meeting or drinking or eating, okay? So just sitting still for some people is really, really difficult. So go easy. That's why I say, take a minute, set a timer on your phone or whatever kind of timer you have. If you don't want your phone near you, set a timer for a minute or 2 minutes and just practice. Just get into the habit of doing this for yourself. And I promise you'll find the benefits. All right, that's enough for today. Thank you guys for swinging by. Check out the website, yogafordudes.com. Sign up for the mailing list. I promise I will not bombard you with too much there. Check us out in the next video. I hope this is all helping. Leave me a comment below. Let me know what your pain points are with yoga, what you're looking for, and how I can help you. All right, see you in the next video. Peace out.